Every once in a while, a game comes along that changes the way you see gaming. The kind of game that pulls you into its world, makes every moment feel important, and stays in your head long after the credits roll. Today, we're counting down 18 perfect 10 out of 10 masterpieces games that earned that score through unforgettable stories, incredible worlds, and gameplay that still feels special. Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 feels like a painting that learned how to bleed. The premise alone is haunting. Every year, the paintress marks a number, and everyone at that age disappears, leaving a world where people don't just fear death, they can count down to it. You follow Expedition 33, a group stepping into almost certain doom to end that cycle before time runs out. And what makes it hit so hard is the contrast. The world is gorgeous, inspired by Belle Epoque beauty, full of impossible landscapes, dreamlike ruins, and colors that feel almost too elegant for something this tragic. But underneath all that beauty is grief. The combat keeps that same tension alive, mixing turn-based strategy with real-time dodges, parries, and attacks, so every fight feels stylish but never passive. You're not just watching turns play out, you're surviving every second of them. Clair Obscur earns its 10 out of 10 because it turns a simple countdown into something emotional, artistic, and unforgettable. A journey about mortality, hope, and the desperate need to leave something behind before the world erases you. Resident Evil Requiem. Resident Evil Requiem feels like the series dragging an old wound back into the light and forcing you to look at it. This time, you follow Grace Ashcroft, an FBI intelligence analyst sent into a case tied to the same place where her mother was murdered years before. And that personal connection makes the horror feel sharper from the start. She isn't walking in like a superhero. She feels vulnerable, uncertain, and painfully human. Which is exactly what Resident Evil needs to make fear matter again. Every hallway, every shadow, every quiet room carries that classic survival horror pressure, where one sound can make you stop moving completely. But what makes Requiem exciting is how it seems to balance the old and new sides of the series: slow dread, limited safety, ugly monsters, and that constant feeling that the truth is worse than whatever is chasing you. Resident Evil Requiem earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't just continue the franchise, it turns trauma, legacy, and survival into something personal again.
Oh shit. Come on! I'm stuck! Oh wait! What are you doing?
God of War Ragnarök. God of War Ragnarök takes everything the 2018 game built and pushes it towards something colder, heavier, and more personal. Kratos and Atreus are no longer just surviving together. They're starting to pull in different directions. Atreus wants answers, identity, a future he can understand, while Kratos is terrified that every step toward prophecy will turn his son into another weapon shaped by gods. That tension sits under every fight, every quiet conversation, every journey across the 9 realms. The combat feels bigger and sharper, with the Leviathan axe, blades of chaos, and shield options giving every battle more rhythm and personality. But the real strength is how the game balances spectacle with emotion. One moment you're fighting gods in battles that shake the screen, the next you're watching a father struggle to say the words his son needs to hear. Ragnarök isn't just about the end of the world, it's about breaking cycles, choosing who you become, and learning that strength doesn't always mean destruction. God of War Ragnarök earns its 10 out of 10 because it turns apocalypse into something deeply human.
What we are! That it? Won't be enough! I can take you! ain't over! Wait and die!
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Come on then! The pillory's too good for you!
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 doesn't use history as decoration. It makes you feel trapped inside it. You return as Henry, still not some chosen hero, still not a legendary warrior, just a blacksmith's son trying to survive a brutal civil war in 1403 Bohemia. And that groundedness is exactly what makes it special. The world doesn't feel built around you. It feels like it was already moving before you arrived. Villages have routines, cities feel crowded and political, rumors spread, people remember your choices, and your reputation can walk into a room before you do. The combat carries that same weight. Every sword fight feels dangerous, messy, and physical, like one bad move could genuinely cost you everything. But what makes the sequel hit harder is how naturally life keeps shifting around Henry. One moment you're working a forge, the next you're pulled into a siege, a betrayal, or a political mess bigger than you. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't just create an RPG world, it creates a place that feels real enough to get lost in.
Get him!
My God, what are you doing?
Don't hurt him!
If you keep resisting, I've all the right in the world to execute you all.
Lies of P. Lies of P takes the story of Pinocchio and twists it into something cold, elegant, and genuinely unsettling. This isn't a fairy tale with warmth left in it. Krat is a city of broken puppets, gothic streets, rusted machinery, and people who feel almost less human than the puppet you control. You play as P, searching for Geppetto in a world where truth and lies are never just dialogue choices. They slowly shape who you become. The combat is where the game really proves itself. Every block, parry, dodge, and weapon swing has weight, and the weapon assembly system lets you build something that actually fits the way you fight. Bosses are brutal but rarely unfair. They force you to learn timing, stay calm, and understand the rhythm instead of just surviving it by luck. What makes Lies of P special is that it doesn't feel like a Souls-like trying to copy its inspirations. It has its own identity, its own sadness, its own sharp little heartbeat. Lies of P earns its 10 out of 10 because it turns a familiar story into something haunting, stylish, and completely unforgettable.
So this is Geppetto's puppet, huh? Core admit, he knows what he's doing. You don't get extra points for fighting fair, survive and win.
Uncharted 4, A Thief's End.
Oh shit, you're still alive!
Uncharted 4: A Thief's End understands that the hardest adventure to survive isn't always the one with bullets, collapsing bridges, and ancient treasure. Sometimes it's the one where you have to admit you can't keep running forever. Nathan Drake is older now, settled into a quieter life with Elena, trying to convince himself that normal is enough. Then Sam comes back, the brother he thought was dead, carrying unfinished history and one last impossible job. And of course, Nate follows, because that weakness has always been part of who he is. The set pieces are pure Naughty Dog magic. Muddy jeep chases, collapsing ruins, gunfights that move like cinema, and climbs that feel one slip away from disaster. But the moments that stay with you are quieter. Nate in the attic, Elena watching him lie, Sully showing up with warmth and regret in the same sentence. Libertalia becomes more than a treasure hunt. It becomes a mirror for obsession, ambition, and what people destroy, chasing one more score. Uncharted 4 earns its 10 out of 10 because it gives Nathan Drake the goodbye he deserved. Exciting, honest, and deeply human.
Take the wheel! What? Get out of your goddamn mind! Yeah, probably! Oh, crap, crap, crap! Coming through!
Nioh 3. Nioh 3 feels like Team Ninja taking everything that made the series brutal, fast, and addictive, then pushing it into something wider and more dangerous. You step into a yokai-infested Japan as Tokugawa Takechio, moving through open fields where every path feels like it could hide a shrine, a trap, or something massive waiting to ruin your confidence. But the real hook is the combat. This time, you're not locked into one identity. Samurai style gives you that grounded, heavy, disciplined Nioh rhythm. Reading attacks, managing ki, punishing openings. Ninja style is faster, sharper, built around movement, pressure, and striking before the enemy can settle. Switching between them mid-fight makes every battle feel alive, like you're constantly adjusting instead of repeating a pattern. And then, the yokai show up, strange, aggressive, and beautifully horrifying, turning simple exploration into survival. Nioh 3 earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't soften the series. It expands it. More freedom, more speed, more danger, and that same incredible feeling when a fight finally clicks, and you know you earned every second of the win. Pragmata. Pragmata feels like Capcom finally opening the door to a sci-fi world it kept locked away for years, and what's inside is strange, lonely, and immediately fascinating. You follow Hugh, a spacefarer trapped on a lunar facility, and Diana, a young android who feels less like a tool and more like the emotional pulse of the whole story, as they fight through a station controlled by rogue AI and search for a way back to Earth. But what makes Pragmata stand out isn't just the setting, it's the contrast. Cold metal corridors, broken technology, hostile machines, and then this small human connection forming in the middle of all that silence. The combat mixes shooting, movement, and hacking in a way that makes every encounter feel like you're solving danger instead of just surviving it. And underneath the sci-fi spectacle, there's something more personal. Trust, protection, and what it means to stay human when everything around you is artificial. Pragmata earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't just feel like another futuristic action game. It feels like a lonely journey home with a heartbeat.
Get ready! Phineas!
Never seen it before.
So it's not one of your pot buddies? Then I guess we can just go and blast it!
The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom takes the freedom of Breath of the Wild and somehow makes it feel even more impossible. Hyrule is still there, familiar but changed, scarred by upheaval and mystery, but now the world doesn't just stretch across the land. It reaches into the sky and sinks deep beneath your feet. That vertical scale changes everything. A floating island isn't just scenery, it's a question. A hole in the ground isn't just darkness, it's an invitation. And then the building systems arrive and suddenly the game stops feeling like it has solutions and starts feeling like it has possibilities. Ultra Hand, Fuse, Recall. These aren't gimmicks. They turn creativity into gameplay. Build a bridge, make a flying machine, attach a ridiculous weapon to a stick, solve a puzzle in a way that definitely wasn't elegant but somehow worked. That's the magic. Tears of the Kingdom earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't just give you a world to explore. It gives you the tools to argue with the world, break it, rebuild it, and make the adventure feel completely your own. Dark Souls Remastered. Dark Souls Remastered doesn't explain itself, and that's exactly why it feels so powerful. It drops you into Lordran, broken, hostile, and strangely beautiful, then lets the world become your teacher. Every enemy placement is a warning, every shortcut feels like a revelation, and every death slowly changes the way you look at the path ahead. But what makes Dark Souls legendary isn't just the difficulty. It's the structure of the world itself. Lordran isn't a set of levels glued together. It folds back into itself like one massive twisted machine. A locked door from hours ago suddenly opens into a place you thought was miles away, and for a second, the entire world clicks in your head. The story hides in item descriptions, quiet ruins, strange NPCs, and things the game never says out loud. You can finish it and still feel like you only understood half of what happened, but that mystery is part of why it stays with you. Dark Souls Remastered earns its 10 out of 10 because it didn't just make difficulty famous, it made patience, attention, and discovery feel sacred. The Last of Us.
Let's just keep moving. All right, here's the bridge. That's our way out of here.
The Last of Us isn't really about the infected. It's about what survival does to people after the world has already ended. Joel and Ellie cross a broken America where cities are swallowed by nature, supplies are counted bullet by bullet, and every stranger feels like a risk you can't afford to take. The infected are terrifying, but the humans are worse because they remind you that desperation can turn anyone into a monster. Every fight feels rough and uncomfortable. Ammo is low, melee hits are ugly, and violence never feels clean or heroic. But the real power of the game lives in the quiet spaces between all that danger. Ellie asking questions, Joel almost answering, a joke landing when it shouldn't. A small moment of warmth in a world that has forgotten what warmth feels like. Their bond builds slowly, almost without permission, until you realize how much it matters. And then the ending comes, messy, selfish, unforgettable, and still debated for a reason. The Last of Us earns its 10 out of 10 because its story and gameplay don't just work together, they make each other hurt more.
Do you think those hunters are gone?
We're about to find out.
It's clear, Ellie. Come on down.
Oh, Nancy.
A Plague Tale Requiem. A Plague Tale Requiem is not just a sequel. It's a slow, beautiful heartbreak that keeps tightening around you. Amicia and Hugo are still running, still searching for safety, still chasing the hope of a cure, but the world around them feels bigger, crueler, and far less willing to let them breathe. Southern France looks stunning at first, golden fields, quiet coastlines, sunlit villages, but underneath all that beauty, the plague is always waiting. And when the rats come, they don't feel like enemies. They feel like the world itself collapsing into darkness. Requiem understands contrast better than most games. It gives you a peaceful moment, a gentle conversation, a glimpse of what life could be, and then pulls it away before you can hold it. The stealth, the fire, the desperate escapes, all of it feeds into the same emotional pressure. But the real weight is Amicia and Hugo, a sister trying to protect someone she loves, even when love might not be enough. Requiem earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't just make you survive the journey, it makes you feel the cost of every step.
Follows. Oh, which could take forever. No, this time's... Intruders in the area!
Can't say I missed that one.
Back down!
Horizon Forbidden West. Horizon Forbidden West is the kind of open-world game that overwhelms you first with beauty, then keeps you there with depth. The first thing you notice is obvious. Storms rolling over machine graveyards, sunlight cutting through ancient ruins, jungles swallowing the remains of the old world, and underwater areas so detailed they feel like a whole separate game. But the visuals are only the invitation. What makes the world work is how alive and dangerous the machines feel. You're not just shooting health bars. Every machine is a puzzle in motion, with weak points, armor plates, elemental reactions, and parts you can tear off mid-fight. Taking down a Tremor Tusk or Slitherfang feels less like winning a battle and more like solving a crisis while it's trying to kill you. And Aloy holds the whole thing together. She's smart, stubborn, tired, and carrying knowledge most people around her can't even understand. The story expands the tribes, the history, and the mystery of what came before without losing her human center. Horizon Forbidden West earns its 10 out of 10 because its world isn't just stunning. It's built to be explored, fought for, and remembered. Assassin's Creed IV Black Flag. Assassin's Creed IV Black Flag is the game where the pirate fantasy doesn't just work, it completely takes over. You play as Edward Kenway, a selfish, reckless captain chasing gold, freedom, and a bigger life in the Caribbean, long before he understands the cost of any of it. And that's what makes the story land. Edward doesn't begin as a noble hero or a loyal assassin. He's messy, ambitious, charming, and constantly one bad decision away from losing everything. The ocean is the real heart of the game. Sailing the Jackdaw through storms, hunting ships, hearing the crew sing shanties, diving into wrecks, and spotting an enemy vessel on the horizon makes the world feel alive with opportunity. Every island, fort, and hidden cove feels like another reason to stay out at sea a little longer. But beneath the freedom, there's sadness. Friendships breaking, legends fading, and a man slowly realizing that freedom without purpose can become empty. Black Flag earns its 10 out of 10 because it turns piracy into adventure, tragedy, and one of the most unforgettable open worlds Ubisoft ever made.
What?
Hollow Knight Silksong. Hollow Knight Silksong had the impossible job of following a game that already felt sacred, and somehow it doesn't just return to that feeling, it climbs somewhere new. This time you play as Hornet, faster, sharper, more aggressive, pulled into Farloom, a kingdom ruled by Silk, Song, Faith, and Decay. And immediately the difference is clear. This isn't the quiet grief of Hallownest anymore. Farloom feels taller, stranger, more alive, like the whole world is constantly pulling you upward towards something you don't fully understand yet. Hornet moves with elegance and danger, leaping through enemies, striking with precision, healing under pressure, and turning every fight into a dance that can punish one wrong step. The exploration still has that beautiful Metroidvania mystery. Locked paths, hidden rooms, strange characters, and secrets tucked just far enough away to make curiosity feel rewarding. But Silksong has its own heartbeat. It's brighter, faster, more restless, and still deeply lonely underneath. Hollow Knight Silksong earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't live in the shadow of the original. It spins its own legend from silk, sorrow, and steel. Detroit Become Human.
Goddamn fucking pigeons! What are you waiting for? Chase it!
Detroit Become Human is a game about machines trying to understand what it means to be alive, and humans proving they don't always deserve to define it. Set in a near-future Detroit where androids serve, obey, clean, fight, raise children, and quietly suffer, the game follows three lives slowly breaking out of the roles they were built for. Connor is a prototype investigator hunting deviants while questioning whether he's becoming one himself. Kara is just trying to protect a little girl in a world that treats both of them like property. And Marcus becomes the face of a revolution that can be peaceful, violent, hopeful, or tragic, depending on your choices. What makes Detroit hit so hard is how quickly small decisions start to feel enormous. One line, one hesitation, one failed QuickTime event can completely change someone's fate. The branching paths aren't decoration, they're the whole emotional engine. Detroit Become Human earns its 10 out of 10 because it turns choice into pressure and makes every player ask the same uncomfortable question. When does a programmed life become real enough to matter?
Stop right there!
Please.
The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild is built on one simple promise. If you can see it, you can probably go there. And somehow, that promise never stops feeling magical. The game doesn't crowd your screen with markers or drag you toward the right path. It drops you into Hyrule, points toward the horizon, and trusts your curiosity to do the rest. A mountain in the distance becomes a climb. A strange glow becomes a shrine. A random storm, a slippery cliff, or a camp of enemies can turn a simple trip into a story you didn't plan. That's where Breath of the Wild becomes special. The world feels like it's always reacting. Wind spreads fire, rain changes movement, physics creates solutions the game never loudly explains. And the quiet moments hit just as hard as the big ones. Gliding across a valley, cooking by a fire, hearing one soft piano note as you crest a hill. Breath of the Wild earns its 10 out of 10 because it understands that true adventure isn't about where the game tells you to go, it's about the moment you decide to go there yourself. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Sorry about that.
Final Fantasy VII Rebirth feels like stepping out of Midgar and realizing the world is much bigger, stranger, and more emotional than you were ready for. Cloud and the party are no longer trapped inside steel walls. They're crossing open fields, ruined towns, beaches, deserts, reactors, and places that feel alive with history. But the scale only works because the characters carry it. Cloud's silence, Tifa's worry, Aerith's warmth, Barrett's guilt, Red 13's hidden fear. Every quiet conversation makes the journey feel less like a quest and more like a group of broken people trying to hold each other together. The combat is fast, stylish, and tactical, mixing real-time action with smart ability choices so every fight feels energetic but controlled. And then the story keeps pulling you towards something darker, something you know is coming but still don't feel ready to face. Rebirth earns its 10 out of 10 because it doesn't just expand Final Fantasy VII, it deepens it, turning nostalgia, friendship, destiny, and heartbreak into one unforgettable journey.
I know I have it in me. 10 out of 10. You ready? Don't give up now, you guys.
Oh, you in trouble now. Get a load. Special delivery.